To most of us, the Parsha of the Metzora is somewhat esoteric and hard for us to relate to. After all, none of us have ever seen anybody who has a skin disorder or some kind of unusual skin disease that is similar to what is outlined in the pages of Chumash, that has declared themselves or invited a Cohen into their home to look at it and decide whether or not they need to move out of their home, whether they require shiluach machanos. So it's somewhat esoteric to us, it's somewhat removed from the reality of our lives. It's a major discussion in the Achronim why that is so. Why do we not have the mitzvah? Why do we not observe this mitzvah in the way that it used to be observed? The Tiferes Yisrael actually writes that he presented this question to the great Rabbi Kiva Eger, and he wondered, why is it that in our times we don't have the opportunity to go ahead with the Torah's HaMetzora, with Shiluach Machanos, with Badad Yeshev Michutz LaMachaneh. But be it as it may, this certainly is a mitzvah that is like all other mitzvahs, and it is something that has eternal messages, and something that we all need to think about, the values that we can take away from the Parshas Metzorah that we will read this Shabbos. So, one of the aspects that is interesting to me is that any time in our lives when we have a major question, when we have a major issue, either personally or communally, we turn to the greatest Talmidei Chachamim to answer those questions. We turn to our Rabbanim, who have the ability to give us guidance based on the Hashkafas HaTorah that they have mastered over their lives. And why is it here that when it comes to Tumas HaMetzora, that we know that the one who is to determine the status of the Metzora, whether he requires Shiluach Machanos, is not the Rav of the town, nor is it the Talmidei Chachamim of the generation, but rather it is the Cohen who is singled out to be the one who will determine the fate of this particular Metzora. Why is this the unusual choice that we look to as opposed to the normal choice that we would find in many other aspects of our lives? And perhaps the understanding goes as follows. We live in a cancel culture. People take such pleasure bringing down others and destroying the lives of other community members or other famous personalities. And obviously the Hashkafas HaTorah does not believe in this kind of reality. And it's painful for us when somebody needs to be declared as Badad Yeshev Michutz LaMachaneh Moshavo, when somebody needs to be taken out of their home, removed from society and from the community, and put on the outs of our inner circle. That's a very difficult thing for anyone who has a heart, for anyone who understands what the Torah is all about, of Chaverim Kol Yisrael, anyone who appreciates what community means in the sense of a Jewish life, and how important and intrinsic it is to everything that we do. But sometimes, unfortunately, we need to declare that someone must go Michutz LaMachaneh. In very unfortunate circumstances, that has to be the psak. But the one that we're going to choose to make that determination is somebody who we know has an extremely sensitive soul and a very soft side and a very understanding and passionate heart. It is the one who is the descendant of the Ohev Shalom Verodev Shalom. It is the one who comes from a lineage, from a family, where this is what they stand for, where this is what they do, where they worry about the commitment to community at all times and the troubles of every individual. And that is why we turn, in this case, in particular, to the Cohen, to be the one to make this painful and fateful decision that the Metzora is indeed a Tameh, and he needs to go Michutz LaMachaneh. It reminds me of a comment that some Mefarshim say. The Gemara talks about when the bracha of Alam Malshinim was instituted, so we are told that Nasnu Einehem b'Shmuel HaKatan. Everyone in the room instinctively turned to Shmuel HaKatan and chose him to be the one to pen and author this bracha. Why did they turn to him? Obviously, Shmuel HaKatan was a giant among men, but he was also a giant among giants. There were so many others in his generation who were tremendous personalities. Did they not have the ability to author and to pen such a bracha? What was unique about Shmuel HaKatan's ability to write the bracha of Alam Malshinim? And some suggest the answer is that if you look carefully, we are told in a different Maimar Chazal that Shmuel HaKatan is the one who goes down in history as saying, B'nefol oyivcha al tismach. Don't rejoice in the destruction of your enemy as much as you may dislike him, as much as you have a disdain for that personality, as much as you really want the world to be rid of that evil. Do not rejoice when that comes upon him. It is still a sad reality that it had to come to that. when we have to painfully make a bracha of V'la Malshinim. And again, these Malshinim were ones who tried to undermine and destroy the Jewish community of the time. But even when we have to make a bracha that singles them out and says that they should have a special moment with HaKadosh Baruch Hu when He will judge them, that is a painful thing for any of us to say, and certainly a difficult paragraph for any of us to put into our Shemona Esrei. Sometimes it needs to be done, but the one member of the community we're going to choose to author such a bracha is the one who we know with certainty has the greatest sense of understanding and sensitivity, the softest heart, and the one who really appreciates the pain of those who are on the outs. And that is none other than Shmuel HaKatan. It's the same message we find in this week's Parsha when describing the painful reality of V'tamei tamei yikra. Sometimes somebody in the community, under painful circumstances, needs to be told that they must leave the confines of our community and find another place to be outside for some introspection. But the person who is going to deem them as such, the person who is going to have that painful ability to tell them what their fate is going to be, needs to be the one who has a tremendous sense of understanding and sensitivity. Somebody who has a soft heart, somebody who really appreciates the pain of others, and somebody who is really going to understand what it means to live with that determination of Badad Yeshev Michutz Lamachane Moshavo. I wish all of you a meaningful Shabbos and a Chag Kosher V'Sameach.